It is now my privilege to introduce and honor a person with strong and passionate links to Illinois State's heritage and vision. This gentleman is a true Illinois State treasure. He didn't graduate from ISU, but he did graduate from the university's laboratory schools. This ballroom isn't named for him, but it is named in honor and in memory of his parents, Dr. and Mrs. Francis R. Brown. Along with his three brothers, David Brown attended Metcalf School and University High School, graduating in 1965. David continued his education at Lawrence University in Appleton, Wisconsin, where he received a bachelor's degree and then on to Michigan State University for his master's. After teaching in the Bloomington public school system, David earned his Juris Doctor from Drake University. David served as an assistant attorney general for the state of Iowa and clerked for 2 years with Iowa's Supreme Court Justice. Today, David Brown is a preeminent attorney with the law firm of Hanson, McClintock, and Riley in Des Moines, Iowa. He has served as a member of the American Bar Association House of Delegates and is currently the state delegate from Iowa. In 1999, he received the Iowa State Bar Association's highest honor, the Award of Merit, in recognition of personal standards and accomplishments as a lawyer and as a citizen. In 2005, he received the President's Award for his service to the legal profession and the residents of Iowa. Most recently, he was named the first ever dean of the Iowa State Bar Association. In realizing his vision, David Brown has never forgotten his heritage and his roots in Central Illinois and at Illinois State. He has served as an ambassador for the Laboratory Schools fundraising campaign. He is a lifetime member of the Legacy Society for the Laboratory Schools and the Illinois State University Heritage Society. He became a member of the Foundation Board of Directors, the Illinois State University Foundation Board of Directors in 2005. David, could you please join me at the podium? I will also ask the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Michael McCuskey, to step to the podium to confer the honorary Doctor of Laws degree to David Brown. Official conferral, Mike. Yep. There you go.
By the power invested in the Board of Trustees of Illinois State University and upon the recommendation of the President of the University and the endorsement of the Academic Senate, I hereby confer on David Brown the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all rights and privileges thereto appertaining. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me congratulate Mr. David Brown, our 2014 honorary degree recipient.
President Flanagan, you can keep going. I was enjoying that. In any event, President Flanagan, Board of Trustees, members of the faculty, the various vice presidents of this university, family who are here, friends here from Iowa. There's a state that picks presidents, Iowa, and a number of friends from the community that I've known most of my life. I can't tell you how humbled I am by an award like this. And how proud I am to be standing here in a ballroom named after our folks. I was told by Jay Groves, the authority on such events, that he thought probably 2 hours would be too long, but he thought possibly a minute and a half might be too short. So I'm going to end towards the 1.5 minute, but it won't be right away. In any event, Jay, wherever you are, if I go a little too far, you know you're supposed to come up here and stop me. So I'm okay with that. In any event, a little history, why somebody from Iowa is standing here as a recipient. And I feel like Steve Adams at one level, who said he only had one thing he really regretted in his career at Illinois State, and that's that he didn't attend here. He went to that other place called Wesleyan. and actually, as one of my dear friends since 4th grade, I can say in all the things I've done, education-wise and career-wise, if I had one regret, it would be that I didn't attend Illinois State. It's simply, as my father used to say, simply the best university in the country. And I believe that, and he believed that. In any event, I wanted to share a little bit about how we were raised in this community, and basically how I came to have this kind of affection for a college I didn't attend and a community I have not lived in technically since 1970. My father first walked onto this campus in the 20s. He attended this university in the 30s. He came back after World War II and began teaching here in the 40s. Many of you in the audience might have known him as a senior person who went to every single sporting event on this campus for over 50 years. And they even gave him a referee shirt. And so he would sit there next to Steve Adams, who announced him, and my father would keep score, like he did with all of us for most of our lives. But he came back in the 40s, and he was a teacher, and then he was a professor, and then later he was an administrator. And he technically retired in 1977, but like a lot of people in universities, he never left. I think he redefined the term emeritus, and I don't remember how many presidents he served, but at least one of them's behind me, President Strand. He knew all of them right through Al Bowman. As I told President Flanagan last evening and this morning, he would want me to greet him on his behalf, since he knew all the presidents from David Felmy on. And I've known them all since Raymond Fairchild on. In any event, my brothers and I attended Metcalf. We attended U-High. We lived over where Walker Hall used to be, where the rec center is now. We watched Fairchild Hall being built. And then we had a rather dramatic move. We moved all the way across town, and we lived on Normal Avenue in Normal at Illinois State Normal University, attending a normal school and also attending a normal church. And the folks bought that house in 1953, and we only sold it as a family in 2002. Tom Lamonica and his bride live in the house next to ours. Well, those of you who are from this area know that Normal Avenue is College Row. I mean, I think there are more college students, college people, college professors that line Summit all the way down to Willow Street than probably any other street in this community. And it was really an honor to be there. But literally, we would walk in the center of that area into the campus, attending grade school, high school, in Moulton Hall. I mean, at that point, the new Metcalf, as they say, hadn't been built, and the new U-High hadn't been built either. So we're going to grade school and high school in 7 or 8 buildings. I mean, I kind of feel like Beaver Cleaver. And in some ways, it kind of was that kind of Storybrooke life, because you're around a lot of professors, you're around a lot of student teachers, you're around a love of learning. It was all about dreams and hopes and what you could do. There was no sense that you couldn't accomplish anything. And we got that at home. We got that in class. We got that in the lab schools. And you really have one of the greatest lab programs in the country, and I hope everybody in this room will do everything in their power to keep it with all the people that might call to change it. It's a phenomenal place, Metcalf. It's a phenomenal place, U-High. And we were all blessed to be able to go there, graduate there, and be part of that. So when you leave that environment, the question is, are you now done? I think our father wanted us to maybe go away to school so we would really fully realize really what we had here. And I think once I left and then came back and then kept coming back and then kept coming back and then kept coming back, I developed a ritual that I think I haven't done since, I think, yesterday when I drove in from Iowa, and that is park the car in front of the old house on Normal Avenue, walk up the street, even in the rain or the snow or whatever, walk right in the middle of this campus, walk through the quad, identify all the buildings, see all the kids, see all the students, be part of some classes perhaps, hopefully, walk through this building, of course, come back around, go over to Felgates, read the inscription on Felgates, which I haven't read it since this morning. I think it goes something like this. Friend of education, lover of trees, philanthropist of mighty vision. That's who created this town. That's who created this university. The story told often, and I think Professor Freed probably can tell us for sure if it happened, although, as my father says, not many of us were there when Abe Lincoln was here, and he could probably confirm it as well, but when Jesse Fell was successful and Lincoln was elected, and Lincoln went to Washington, of course, in that time period, everybody wanted something. And, you know, that was a system, and most people got something. So he asked Jesse Fell what he wanted, because he was there at the beginning. And what he said was, he had enough, the thanks of a grateful nation. Mr. President, I'm going home to normal. And came back and lived here and thrived here and put his tremendous energies into this community until he died many years after the president was assassinated. In any event, as part of that history, what you realize is this university has done something overall, and I was able to be in the math department yesterday for a time with Said, who's behind me here someplace, who's getting the Outstanding Professor Award. The passion that the teachers in this university have for young people, it's numbing. I mean, it's just remarkable. And I can remember being in what was then Old Main, the kind of the flagstaff building of this university, and seeing the enthusiasm my father and all of his friends had for the young people and the university and the history and what they have here. Most people have no idea, really, the amount of love and affection that the 190,000 alums have, but they don't have a homecoming quite like this either. They don't have a Founders Day ceremony quite like this either. It's really pretty remarkable. There was a time, I think it was 2004 or so, one of the development officers here, Gail Lamb, said to me one time, she said, do you think there's a way that you might be able to honor your family in some way, or you want to? And I remember saying, yeah, I think I know what I want to do. And they said, well, how long have you been thinking about it? I said, oh, for about 30 years. And they said, well, where would that be? I said, well, I'm not sure I want to say publicly because it might be gone. They said, what do you mean? I said, well, every activity in this university other than playing basketball, I actually enjoyed it better at McCormick Gym. It was louder, but Horton Fieldhouse or Redbird Arena or football at Hancock happens in one building, this building. And every event, whether it's recruiting students, memorializing people that leave, obviously wedding receptions these days, food fairs, the things that are up today to see in the Founders Day, convocations like today, book signings, lectures over at Braden that come over here, they all happen in one building. And actually, everything happens in one room. I used to bring the folks to this room, a lot of events in this room. And after my mother passed, our mother passed, I used to bring Pop to this room. And all I could think was, you know, this is where all roads cross. It doesn't matter if you're a math major, an English major. It really doesn't matter. A history major. It doesn't matter if it's athletics. It doesn't matter if it's music, drama, all the different disciplines in this community. At some point, everybody comes in this room. Now that, to me, defined my parents. But also it defines Illinois State University. I mean, this is a community of scholars, a community of young people, forever young, some of us really forever young, since a lot of people say, when did you move? You know, when did you leave? And I don't know that my heart ever left Illinois State. I'm quite certain it never did. But the fact is, there's so much synergy that comes in this building when you come in. I remember when we built it and had the naming, it was really a terrific event. All my cousins went to this university. My nieces and nephews went to this university. A lot of friends went to this university. A lot of people, friends of friends of friends went to this university. The fact is, this university has had such an impact. My father never stopped, and I wanted to share that with you as I'm about ready to leave, Jay, wherever you are. And that was this. His last classroom experience was sometime in the 80s. And then he would be part of different groups, part of the annuitants. He was one of the people who, with Ben Hubbard and with Dave Wyant, was out fighting for pensions for retired professors till the day he died. I mean, he never, ever stopped fighting for that. I think with the lawsuits pending, I think I knew who the star witness would be for the plaintiffs if he was here. Had a real passion for that. The people that put out and do all this for people are entitled to have some benefit on the other end of it. Second thing about him was he basically had students still come to the house, students that had been his students 25 or 30 or 40 years earlier. And I can still remember being in the house, and the doorbell rings, and you know, most of us, our short-term memory loss gets more pronounced. Our long-term memory loss is abundantly clear every day. He never forgot a face. He never forgot a name. Doorbell rings. How are you, Susan? Or how are you, John? Come in. Usual ritual. If my mother was there, lemonade, Coke, coffee. Sit down. How are you? How's your family? How are your kids? How's your career? How's your health? Take care of your health. Are your mom and dad still alive? And then he'd kind of slip away for a minute. He'd come back. And he'd go up to the attic, and maybe the basement, maybe his bedroom, come back out, and he'd have something in his hand. And he'd sit down, and he'd look you right in the eye, and he'd say, I was hoping you'd would stop by. And it was a paper that this kid would have written 25 or 30 years earlier. And he'd say, I've been keeping this for you, and I'm going to give it back to you. But it's a piece of my heart, too. He did that right to the last week of his life. I have to admit, I have an awful lot of unrelated papers and materials in my house. And if any of you want to come out to Des Moines, I think I can probably give you something stronger than lemonade. But it's unbelievable. That was still going on, really, to the end. We'd walk into different events at Horton or Redbird Arena or the church or meetings downtown, and I mean, he was Mr. Chips. But there's a lot of Mr. Chips in this community. And the faculty behind me right now, they're in that position right now. That's what kind of powerful people they are. Another thing that always hits me when I come down here is I stay at the Marriott, and a number of my friends who were kind enough to come down and join me, they stay at the Marriott. And that Marriott has special meaning to me. When Pop was here as a student, and maybe some of you here that are veterans understand that the town of Normal and Illinois State University weren't necessarily joined at the hip in some years. It was Bloomington, or it was Westland. It wasn't Normal, and it wasn't Illinois State. You remember the good old days. It had to get better. He spent his life going to make it better. So at some point, he got involved in a non-elected way in city politics, particularly interested when they wanted to put College Avenue right through his house, and decided that wasn't going to happen. I think I'll put it through somebody else's house. So in any event, College Avenue, where it is there in part because he blocked it going through Bowles Gregory, which I thought was pretty clever. But ultimately, he stayed on that Planning and Zoning Commission till he died. Now, why was he on there? Was it because he paid taxes like we do and because he was trying to save his house from whatever? That wasn't really it. He thought really he should be involved because his dream was a hotel. He wasn't a builder. He wasn't an architect. He stayed on that board because he had a three-dimensional mind like all these mathematicians in the building. And he could cross-examine those architects and builders better than all the lawyers in the room, because he could see things in 3 dimensions. So in any event, his dream was that hotel. He dreamed about that hotel for years. He talked about it for years. You know, Normal couldn't get it done. Illinois State couldn't quite get it done. We couldn't get somebody like John Q. Hammonds to get it built. The economy goes to hell. We got this, we got that. What's going to happen? Well, the last day of his life, he was at a city council meeting, and I don't think probably Mayor Coos is here, but Pop was on a planning board, and they were talking about this project, that project. It wouldn't surprise my friends and I would have known that those architectural drawings are in my house. They were in his car the night he died. He had so much invested in it. I always walk in that hotel, and this is all, you know, and I knew Carol Reitan well, so it's properly named after Carol Reitan as a conference center. But Pop would be partly her consulary, because the fact was that was a dream for years that would join this community and this university, and look what it's done. The other thing was he was being honored at a dinner that he was still engaged in this activity of being an educator, like president of a group 41 years earlier. You know, they say old lawyers never die, we just lose our appeal. That's true. But, you know, not that funny. Not that funny. But people in education don't lose it. They get regenerated. They put it back. And really my connection with all of this, and I am about done now, Jay, is this. Pop never stopped dreaming. A number of my cousins are here. He grew up on a farm up in Livingston County. He was, not surprisingly, the first person in his family to even go to school, and certainly to graduate. The folks had this unique distinction which made us all feel somewhat inferior. Thank God they didn't tell us till we were all done with school. Both valedictorians of their high school classes, both valedictorians of their college classes. But they basically dreamed big dreams. My father, sitting out there in the country as a kid, 16, 17 years old, he dreamed this would happen someday. He dreamed big dreams. What Illinois State does, and really what Illinois State has done for me as a kind of someone that basically moved but never left, who basically my heart is in this room, I can guarantee you that, is he dreamed he could do it. He dreamed this university could do it. And he would be the first, if he was here, to say, the best years of this university aren't 50 years ago. And they're not even last week, even though I think the basketball team did win a game, finally. What he'd say is the best days are yet to come. The best days are going to be in what we do together going forward. And really, Founders Day is celebrating what my father and many in his group of people did. But really, the real monument to them on Founders Day is what all of us as a community within this community of Bloomington Normal and Illinois State and the greater university can do for the young people going forward. And I have no doubt in my mind the best years of Illinois State are ahead. Thank you.
Congratulations again, and thank you, Mr. Brown.